Right. So welcome everyone again to this Scrum Facilitator Scrum 101 webinars, um, which is actually very cool because we've been doing this for a few times now, and the webinars are not like regular webinars. We are still talking a lot, but there's also some interaction. And for today, you are used to seeing me and Steve, or Steve and me, and now you see another Scrum Facilitator. Hi, Sjoerd.
Hey, Jan. Hey, everyone. Yes, I'm happy to join. Steve had another thing that had priority, and since we always collaborate with Scrum facilitators among each other anyway, it was easy to step in. Or at least you will be the judge of that, of course, how well I'm doing.
Yeah, nice, nice. All right, so let me spotlight you and me for this one, and then sure, maybe you can start with a little introduction of yourself, very briefly, or actually an introduction on, okay, so what do we do as Scrum facilitators?
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
Scrum facilitators, go ahead, shoot.
Yeah, so we are Scrum facilitators, both Jay and me. Scrum facilitators is a training and workshop company that provides professional Scrum training, so certified Scrum.org training, and also trainings by Pro Kanban. And we also have our own trainings. We started out as a brand collaboration between solo trainers and consultants, and quickly built that into a company. We do value very deeply to also be really involved in doing actual stuff at clients. So we are, all of us are involved in a training company, but all of us are also working at other companies, sometimes as consultants, sometimes as employees, to really also put to practice what we teach and keep the nice experiences that we are taking away at our clients or at our work also back into the classes and keep things fresh. Um, and we really, really deeply value putting theory to practice and sharing knowledge. So that's also why we're hosting these webinars, organizing meetups, stuff like that. And soon also on location in the Netherlands, because most of us are based in the Netherlands, we have a original conference coming up. And that's a really nice initiative. That's the third year already where we put original content related to Agile and Scrum in a really small, cozy setting. And that also really matches our values of being accessible, sharing knowledge, being equal. So welcome you all to the brand and to this Scrum 101.
Yeah, exactly. Very nice. So, briefly, if you want to get in touch with us, either with me or with Stuart, feel free to do so. You know how to reach us, and of course, also with our Slack community. Well, we will share our link as well. But today it will be about sprint planning. We have covered a few uh, essentials of Scrum already. So we've been talking about the framework itself. We've been talking about the accountabilities. And now we are talking about the sprint planning, which is actually really cool because this is the first event that is happening within the Scrum framework. So what we always do is we get it back at, okay, so what is the essence? What does the Scrum Guide tell us, right? So Scrum Guide says sprint planning initiates the sprint by laying out the work to be performed for the sprint. So this resulting plan is created by the collaborative work for the entire Scrum team. So it's not a single thing for the developers to do or for the product owner to lay down work. No, it's all the Scrum team collaborates to do the stuff. The product owner ensures that the attendees are prepared. And how do you prepare such a thing? Obviously, you look at, okay, so what is coming next? What are the stakeholders' feedback? What is the product goal that we are aiming at? What is the pain that we want to do? What have we done at a previous refinement, right? And then they collaboratively enter the sprint planning. And the sprint planning has actually 3 topics. And this is something that most organizations and most teams do not always know. Because the very first and important thing is, why is the sprint valuable, right? Imagine that a Scrum team costs a lot of money, right? Imagine that we deliver value, so we need to know, why is this valuable? Why are we spending our time in the sprint? Why is the organization spending their time on this on a sprint? And this is an important aspect where the product owner is mainly in the lead, right? Bringing the product goal, bringing the rest of the organizational context. And then part of why is the sprint valuable is also creating the sprint goal. That's your basic. You start with the sprint goal. The second part is what can be done in a sprint. And this is where the developers come in, right? They collaborate, they think about, okay, this is our goal. If this is our goal, what needs to be done to achieve this, right? They can pick up new items from the sprint back, from the product backlog. They can create new stuff, right? Create new product backlog items because they get new insights. And then they collaborate on the third part. How will the chosen work get done? That's also actually a planning kind of thing. So these are the basic stuff that is actually in the sprint planning, like these 3 topics. And I don't know about you, sure, but usually I do see what can be done this sprint that is happening within Scrum teams, but too often they don't start with the why. They don't start with setting the goal, right? And that's
True.
very important. And at the end, also collaborate on, okay, so how will we do the work? And I emphasize the word we, right? And not I. Because also too often the product backlog items are already assigned to people, and then imagine and then they start. But it's all about the collaborative effort in this one.
Yes, it's not about working alongside each other. It's about needing each other to get work done, really collaborating with the team. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we then look at what is actually, because the sprint planning is not something that you can just randomly do, right? You need preparation. The product owner needs preparation. The developers need preparation. Scrum Master need to prepare. So there are a lot of items that you need in preparation that are input to have an effective sprint planning. So you need to have a product backlog, and the product backlog is ordered by the product owner, and it also is a commitment towards the product goal. So we know what is coming. It might be that most of the items are some items are refined, some items are less refined, right? But that is input for the sprint planning. The definition of done, obviously, the increment that has been inspected during the sprint review, because all the stakeholders were there. So you have all the insights from what is going on from the market point of view, what is going on, what is actually also to determine why the sprint will be valuable, right? Of course, you also have sprint retrospective improvements, if any, and you also look at team capacity. Now, looking at this, usually I see team capacity and product backlog being used. Like, okay, so this is the list of product backlog items. Let's just skip one by one, and then, yeah, maybe within team capacity, we just say we can do so much work, right? But ultimately, it's about delivering value, right? And to deliver value, you first need to know why. So that's why the sprint goal is so important in this one.
Yes, definitely. And just for clarification, Zirjan,
Mhm.
do you feel that a product owner should bring a workable sprint goal to the sprint planning, or is that something that can emerge during the event?
Yeah, I always tie it back to what motivates people, right? And how to engage when you start, and also increase ownership. because the previous time we were talking about taking ownership as developers. So imagine that the product owner comes in like, hey, this is the goal, this is what you should be working on. Then part of that ownership is gone, right? So what we always advise product owners to do is provide context. You may suggest a goal, but please make sure that the sprint goal in this case is collaborative effort, right?
So you
Because
bring something that is a start of a direction of a conversation, and then you shape it as a team to the final sprint goal that you walk out of the sprint planning.
exactly. So an example can be that a product owner says, "Hey, I've been talking to head of how do you say call centers. We talk to head of call centers, and they have a lot of complaints about the website, right?
Yeah.
So our first priority should be to reduce the amount of complaints coming from the website. And within the sprint planning, they can collaborate, the entire Scrum team collaborates, and maybe they find that fixing all complaints on a Scrum, on a website might be too big. So they say, okay, based on analysis, based on data that we have, let's fix the login, because most of it is from the login. So that can be a very nice sprint goal collaboratively that eventually also supports resolving like the organizational issues as well. And then you can imagine this is something that all can relate to, that they all can commit to even.
Yes.
Right. So maybe you can pick this one. So then,
yeah, I kind of already said one, right? So when we have this collaborative conversation in the sprint planning, looking from where the product owner thinks we should go, what the team can do, and the collaboration on what can actually be done and which goal can actually be attainable yet challenging. We then end the sprint planning and we get some outputs. We get stuff from there that we can use during the sprint and later in the sprint review to reflect upon. So most importantly, of course, that sprint goal. So why is a sprint valuable? What outcomes do we want to achieve? Which effects do we want to see in the behavior of the users of our product or our service? So really in terms of that, make it clear the change you want to put out there with your product. So this is totally different from the output, right? So it's you might have a small description of something output related, like we're working on the shopping cart feature of our product. So you're narrowing the scope of functionality, but this is not a good goal in itself. It should also include what behavior of your customers you want to change with it. So we're working on the shopping cart functionality to improve conversion of actual bought stuff, or we want to help our customers find more durable products in our shop and buy them, stuff like that. So that's like customer behavior you want to change, right? This can be difficult in non-commercial settings, but it's always there. There's always a behavior of someone that you're working for that you want to change. And this really helps make it tangible, but also keeps flexibility in the sprint in terms of actual stuff that the team is changing to the product, to the increment. So then, of course, we get the goal and we also have a plan, because we discussed also about how to realize that goal. And in sprint planning, we have not done any work on it often. So this is a forecast, right? So we have selected some product backlog items that we may have talked about before in refinements that connect to that goal, that we think help reach that goal. This does not have to be exclusively to work on that goal. The more you have product backlog items tied to the goal, the more focus your team has, of course, and that helps immensely in delivering value, in team cohesion, and all sorts of other things. But in reality, often there's also a few PBIs that might not be related to the goal, but are important. So that's why we have this distinction also. We don't just have the goal, but we also have some things that we know we have to do, some for the goal, some. And then we have the plan, and that's actually how to realize these product backlog items, how we are turning those product backlog items into the next usable increment. And that entails maybe some tasks, maybe some technical split in stuff, how you realize it in your product. So then you more translate the output side, which is more in the PBI descriptions, and the stuff we want to reach with it in the goal, more to activities and smaller changes that we want to reach, and that we take with us also. And that is the total plan. And then we have a sprint backlog. So then we're actually ready to start sprinting.
Yeah, exactly. And a question I have to all of you, maybe you can put the answer in a text. In your context, where you are working, what comes first? The sprint goal, selected PBI, or the plan? So what is the first thing that you do in your teams? Is it selected
In
PBIs,
practice, right?
the product, the sprint goal, or the plan? Yeah, I see Ben writing down selected PBIs.
Yeah, totally recognize that. See that in a lot of teams.
Yeah, and there's and Wasif as well, selected PBIs. Yeah, goal often get forgotten. What we also see is that the PBIs are selected, and then the goal is created. But usually those goals are like themes. Like, hey, this is an overarching theme that connects all the selected PBIs, right? And one of our colleagues, Jihong says it very well. He says, imagine if there are 5 activities that I need to do now. I need to finish this. How do you say? I need to finish this webinar. I need to write an email. I need to cycle home. I need to eat, and I need to go to the movies. Yeah, great. So imagine if the say if I lose the key to my bike, right? Then obviously everything is stuck. I need to make sure that I get the keys because otherwise I cannot cycle. So what he then says, what if it would be the other way around? I want to have a good evening with my wife, right? We want to go out and have some quality time. That's the goal. And then we can think of, okay, so how can we be creative in when something happens? Because then it's very easily to then say, oh, I cannot find the keys anymore. Let's see if I can travel with a friend of mine who's also here who can take me home. And then I will take the bike later, right? So starting with the goal enables creativity in how to achieve it, right? Otherwise, it will be just making this stuff, making sure that this is aware and hoping that there is value. Because I see Wasif writing down based on value. And obviously value is an assumption until it is really released. So we think there is value in cycling home. Well, why are we cycling home, right? Do we really need to? Because the ultimate goal was have a quality night with my wife, right? So those are the things that are really important. And what we also want to share with you is there's actually a very nice process in how to craft a goal. And by the way, this is free, downloadable for all of you. And also you can edit, you can do whatever you want, put it on a poster and so on. There are the stakeholders. You have your product goal, you have your product backlog, and the product owner comes in with the objectives. Like we said before, right? The objective is reduce the amount of complaints coming from the website. Yeah, those are the objectives. And then they collaborate. And within this collaboration, you also notice that, hey, it's not necessarily the items which are in order in the product backlog, which are picked up to do in the sprint in the sprint, right? Because ultimately the goal is the most important one, right? And this is something that all should be aware of. It's not taking all the items which are in a row, but actually, from the sprint goal, from the definition of done, that's your input, and that is how you select your product backlog items to go into the sprint.
Can I
Yeah.
add something here, Zirjan?
Yeah, definitely.
Because before you asked the question to the audience, Karina actually proposed a question around this. And
Mhm.
she writes how to retrain the team to understand what is really important to take into the sprint and what is the goal of the sprint. Because in her case, they expect the Scrum Master to do this,
Mm.
to say what is important to take in the sprint and what is the goal and what are the priorities.
Yeah.
In your explanation, it's pretty clear that the product owner should be doing this. But there are, of course, often cases where where we have less ideal situations. Not everybody understands their role, or from the organization point of view, someone is made product owner who doesn't really want it, or whatever reason, and they don't do it. So I would like to try to answer this question, and I think it is up to the Scrum Master to make sure Scrum is used effectively, right? So in that sense, Karina, you're right. The Scrum Master is expected to take some action here. However, I think it's not appropriate for the Scrum Master to take on that responsibility of the product owner and bring the objective and remind the team why it's important and stuff, but more make sure the product owner takes their role in this process, takes their responsibility, takes up the accountability as they should, or work with the team and the product owner on how to fix this and have them come up with ideas themselves, of course, because there are other ways. We have the accountabilities in Scrum. The main accountabilities are like you cannot hand them out over, but like figuring out an objective and explaining it to the team. This does not have to be done by the product owner themselves. They can go on holidays, right? So then you can also see maybe a team member can take their place or take that responsibility of that activity, as long as the product owner stays accountable for maximizing value. Otherwise, if they are not, or cannot be, or wish not to be, you should find another product owner. So that's a really short answer, hoping to shed some clarity on that situation. So yeah, the product owner's accountability is maximizing value, as she's asking the question. So speaking about sprint goal is the PO's role. The PO is about maximizing value, about making sure stakeholders are properly managed and get the value for the effort that the maximum value of the effort that the team is the developers are delivering. So yeah, that's definitely if you're doing Scrum as it's described, we expect the product owner to take a big part of that.
Yeah.
However, if the team, the developers are also a big part of it in refinements, by continuously talking about how is this valuable, what's the effect on users of this change that we want to make, etc. You also make it much easier to have the discussion with the developers about value and help them be more self-organizing about adjusting to new insights, to impediments, and helping maximize value by the work done, right? So yeah, the PO should take a lead, but ultimately, if the whole team has a good grasp on what is value, why is what we are doing important, who will benefit from it, then the team can better self-organize.
Exactly.
So,
And then this also ties into what we spoke about a lot the previous time about the developers taking accountability, that developers are change agents as well, right? So if the developers don't know why it is valuable, it's also on them to challenge and support the product owner on understanding and clarifying the why, right? So, and the funny thing is just one of the final thing that we want to mention here is also um, the commitment is towards the sprint goal, right? And not towards the selected product backlog items. Yeah, because we were talking about flexibility, right? We're talking about creativity. We were talking about reaching a goal. So we are committed to achieving the sprint goal, and the sprint backlog is our forecast. And as you know, forecast can change, right? That's a dynamic. That's a complex working in a complex environment. But our sprint goal does not change. And that's where we're committed to. We do everything that we can to achieve the sprint goal, right? So that's I think one of the important aspects, if we're talking about the sprint planning, to really understand how this is going. And Paria, you have a question as well? And you said sometimes in my team there are several priorities and all of them are important yeah, and need to be done in the sprint. They are not related to each other. Yeah, I can imagine. So what I did with a previous team of mine at university in Utrecht is they had the same thing. You know, ultimately you should ask the question, why do we have a sprint goal, right? The sprint goal is to help us create focus, deliver value, and when we need to make choices, then we know what is most important. We are committed to sprint goal, right? So this is the attitude and behavior you want to enhance, you want to highlight in the teams. Let me stop sharing. So this is also the behavior that you want to do. So in that case, in University of Utrecht, I told them, okay, from all this work, which one is the most important? If only we had 2 days instead of, in our case, 2-week sprints. If only we had 2 days, what should be done? All right, okay, let's try that one. And then the second, and then the third. And I had like 4 priorities. Having that mindset, that because then in the daily scrum they also have a different discussion with each other. We need to finish the number 1 priority. Just have the conversation with them, and eventually they will get into the habit and they will come up with also in collaboration with the product owner on setting just one goal up front, right? We're having a discussion just the other day where are you doing Scrum if you don't have sprint goal, if you whatever? The answer can be no, but to what we believe as Scrum facilitators is also, if you make the move towards professional Scrum, then you are doing Scrum, right? Because that's the context that we are in. We can't get everything 100% on the first go. So it's continuously inspect and adapt. But also for Scrum Masters and for developers, there should be an aim. All right, let's get towards one goal, one sprint goal. Right? So we will share the link with all of you.
Yeah, it's time to round off again.
Yeah.
It goes so fast.
Yeah, it's really fast. So if you can help us giving us some feedback, and we will stay like 5 more minutes for anyone who has further questions and so on and so on. But to all others, thank you very much, and we will see you in the next session, next 101, which will be about the daily Scrum. And we still have to plan that one, but we will do. Don't worry.
Yes, keep your eyes peeled on the meetup group and LinkedIn, and you can join.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.